Now Mrs. Williams, you're wondering if leopards travel in packs. No, they don't. They live on their own. They have a very lonely life, really. Male leopards live alone all their lives. From the time they leave their mothers, when they're about 3 years old, to the time they die, they will live on their own. And female leopards also live on their own, except when they've got youngsters. So when they have little cubs, then they will be seen with the cubs. But they don't travel in packs, no. The only animals that travel in packs here are wild dogs, and then lions travel together, but those are not called packs, they're called prides. So you have a pride of lions, not a pack of lions. And then, of course, there are lots of antelope and that sort of thing that live in herds, which are groups. Okay, let's go across to the Masai Mara with Taylor McCurdy. I believe that she has got a special feathered friend for you, and I'll keep trying to find this leopard.
Hello everybody, I'll properly introduce myself in a minute, but have a look at this beautiful bird. It is so cool. It is called a white-browed cuckoo, and it's actually quite fitting that we're seeing this bird at the moment, because in South Africa, well actually just in Africa, it's known as the rainbird, and there is lots and lots of rain, which I'll show you in a little bit later. But you can see it's got something in its mouth, hasn't it? In its beak. It is a grasshopper. A nice green grasshopper, and that's going to make for a very, very tasty snack. Can you believe it that there are lots of people all over the world that eat grasshoppers? So not only are they great food for birds and other animals out here, but people will eat them too. And they're really cool. They actually catch things much bigger than a grasshopper. I've seen them catching big lizards before. Ray James's is a bird called a Burchell's cuckoo, which is basically the cousin. And they almost look identical, except it doesn't have that white stripe above its eye. And it's able to bounce around on very small branches too. It's quite a big bird. And there's a butterfly and lots of other insects flying around at the moment too. And they've got a beautiful call. Is what it sort of sounds like, but it will do the call much better than what I can. Are you going to eat it, or are you just going to hold it all day long? I think it wants to eat it. Now, actually, grasshoppers could be a little bit tricky to eat because they've got all these spines on their very powerful hind legs, which they use for jumping. And you wouldn't want to get one of those stuck in your throat, so I suppose it better be careful and take its time when it decides to eventually eat this grasshopper. And there are so many insects around at the moment for the different birds out here. We've had lots and lots of rain, and you may have been able to hear the rumbling of the thunder. And it's actually quite scary at the moment. Now, Mia, you're wondering if I could keep this bird as a pet. I'm not sure. Probably, if you got it from when it was very young, I would imagine you'd be able to. And what I'm going to do is I want to show you this big storm that's brewing now. But it's better to actually just keep it out here. Look at this. Oh my goodness, we're going to actually have to head home, not head home, but head out of the direction of the storm. And you won't believe it, I saw some lions. They were laying in the grass. It was far away. We spotted them from a distance. And because the grass is so long at the moment, they've completely disappeared. The lions have escaped from me. But I might have to abandon ship here because this rain is not going to be good. This rain won't allow us to do anything. We'll have to close up shop. We'll have to zip up our tent. I don't really want to do that. I'd rather avoid the rain. Now, Nelson, you're asking a quick question about the white-browed cuckoo that we're looking at, and you're wondering if it bites. Probably. I don't think it would let me get close enough to it, but it has got a very, very sharp beak, a very little sort of a pointed edge on it, which it needs, especially if it's going to catch things like chameleons or other types of lizards. It would need a very sharp beak to try and kill them to be able to eat it. Okay, what we're going to do now, though, we're going to drive away. Okay, so for those of you, because you have only just seen me now for the first time, my name is Taylor, and on camera with me is Jahawi. And like James said, is that we're in the Masai Mara at the moment. Well, actually, we're in the Mara Triangle, to be more specific, which is in Kenya, and it's so different. Hey, it's so green and it's open. It's so nice to see so many different places. So I don't know if we're going to have luck with those lions, sadly. There. Aha! Oh, I've been searching for these lions for the last 20 20 minutes and it's a big male lion. I saw something and we spotted him, and then we were trying to figure out where exactly it had gone. Whew. And I promise you, it is so tough. I thought, how could these cats have given me this slip? It's ridiculous. But when it's long grass like this, anything can disappear. I don't know if we're going to be able to stay with these lions for long because this storm is coming in very, very quickly. You are all so lucky. It is a very big male lion. I wonder if there are any others that are just sleeping in the long grass. We better be careful. We better not go too quickly. Now our Skari, Nasty, is just pointed to the right. And he sees things that I don't see. Oh, there! More lions! A whole pride of lions! This is going to be tricky, so we're going to just try and maneuver around and find a spot. Hello! One. Ooh, I think this is the big sausage tree pride. Oh, and they've eaten something. Oh, look at this. This is so cool. It's a whole pride of lions. I think this is the big sausage tree pride of lions. There's also a small sausage tree pride of lions. So I can see 1, 2. Now I've got to make sure that they're not young boys. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 females. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, maybe 5 females. And I think there's two males here. No, there's lots of lions. It's very difficult to see. Look at all those bodies just laying in the grass. Unless they put their heads up, it's going to be quite difficult. Now, Brianna, you're wondering if we're going to see them hunting today. Well, Brianna, it looks like they've actually eaten something already. Look here. Look what's down on the ground just next to us. I can see lots of dung, and I can see what looks like maybe some parts of the inside of an animal. I don't know what they could have caught, though. What do you think, Jar? A warthog? There's not much left of it, is it? So maybe they caught it. They could have caught it this morning. There's a lot of lions here, and they would easily gobble up something like a warthog quite quickly. There's lots and lots of warthogs around at the moment. That's what I'm just trying to think. This lioness here, she's chewing on something, but I can't see what it is. I'm just going to look around here. If it was something small, which I assume it was, because there are so many, they could have been fighting over the carcass, so they would have pulled it around a little bit and scattered bits of the remains. So that could have happened, but it's almost impossible to tell what these lions have eaten. But maybe they will hunt again. Maybe it was just a little snack. That male that was standing up didn't look particularly big and fat. Now, Taryn, you're wondering, what exactly do lions eat? Anything and everything that moves out in the wild. So out here, the lions love to eat wildebeest and zebra when the migration is in full swing. So that's when big groups of wildebeest and zebra come together, and they come from the Serengeti, and they come all the way up to where we are, and then they go back again. And they've got to cross rivers, so then the lions will eat lots of them. But because there's not so many wildebeest and zebra around at the moment, they have to settle for other creatures. So warthogs and Thompson's gazelle and topi and eland, which is the world's largest antelope, little giraffe or big giraffe, they will catch whatever they can. So the thing with lions is that they're not actually very good hunters, but don't let me not say that too loudly in case they get cross with me. So they try their best all the time, and that's where they're going to have a lot on their side now that the grass is so tall, because the wildebeest came through and they ate everything, and it was very short. But because we've had so much rain, we've had rain almost every single afternoon for the last 2 weeks, is that the grass has grown so much. And I've just come back from holiday. It's like tripled in length, since I was last at work. So they're going to be able to sneak up to their prey and catch things like warthogs. So their diet changes. But if you see lions in the Sabi sand, they prefer other things. They absolutely love buffalo. Buffalo is one of their favorite things to eat, where James and Ralph are driving around. And hopefully they'll be able to find the Ngahuma pride of lions for you. But there's so many lions around here in the Mara. It is really, really cool. You almost can't go a game drive without seeing these beautiful big cats. Although sometimes you see a glimpse of them and you aren't able to find them again. And if it wasn't for that male standing up, we would never have found these cats again. And I would have been very sad. I would have been defeated, completely defeated. But thank you, lions, for showing yourself. Now, was it Taylor or Kayla? Did you hear that? Was it my name or was it Kayla? Baylor. Baylor with a B. Not even anywhere close to my name. Now you're wondering, what on earth do lions do all day? They are very good at sleeping. That's the number one skill of a lion. And it's not because they're lazy, let me tell you that. It is just because they have to sleep. They have to relax. They have to conserve as much energy as they can in order to try and hunt something. So if they spend their days running around and frolicking about, then they're going to have no energy to catch anything. And remember, I just said to you that lions are not particularly good hunters. So sometimes 4 or 5 attempts on trying to catch a warthog or a wildebeest or a zebra, and maybe only on the 7th attempt do they actually try something. And you know what it's like when you're planning on running a race and you need to run the best time that you can. Sometimes it takes you a few goes before you get it right, and you're exhausted by that time. So that's exactly what happens with the lions. So even though they'll just sleep between 18 to 20 hours a day, look at that. Look what else has just popped up in the long grass straight ahead. That is a hyena. Now that is a scavenger. They can also hunt very, very well though. But now lions and hyenas are eternal enemies. Look at that big smile. I'm sure some of you know that hyenas like to laugh a lot. They like to laugh at the lions. And it's being quite sneaky. It knows that the lions have a kill here and is just waiting for them to move off so that it can come in and try and get the scraps. But like I said, they can hunt for themselves. But this hyena won't come close to these lions. There's too many of them. And one lion versus one hyena, the lion is going to win every single time. Unless it's a baby lion. Then that's not really a fair fight, is it? But, and also because there's big males here, it's going to keep away. Look at Gone. Like it's a magic act. It's just completely disappeared in the grass. Amazing. Now, Isaiah, you're wondering... No, I don't know what you're wondering. What did Isaiah ask? I've forgotten. I'm so sorry. The goldfish memory is so strong. Oh, do lions like the rain? I'm so sorry. We're about to find out if the lions like the rain or not. You know what? They're so used to it here. They'll probably maybe get up and move to one of these shrubs, maybe a tree to find a bit of shelter. But I actually think there's no ways that they're going to get away from this, and they're going to get wet. They don't particularly like it. I think the lions here are a bit more tolerant of the rain, though, than they are in South Africa. Here they'll cross the rivers, you know, they're not too bothered by it. But I think we're actually going to have to make a move very soon because we're also going to get stuck in the rain, and that's something we don't want to do. And you can see they're looking... I think that lioness on the right, I think she may have seen that hyena when it was standing up. You see how she's looking in that distance now? I think she can also smell the hyena. And back down again. Now, Giro, you're wondering, why do lions wiggle their ears? Well, I think why that lion is wiggling its ears at the moment is because and swishing its tail, is because there's flies. So there's little insects, you can see them buzzing about, that are probably biting the ears of the lions, and they don't like that. So by wiggling them about, they're chasing them away. It would be the equivalent of you and I trying to slap a mosquito, trying to squash a mosquito or chase a fly away, waving your hands in front of your face. But they can't do that. So they've got to shake their bodies, but luckily they are equipped with a very good fly swatter, and that's their tail. The tail of any animal is very, very important, especially for the mammals. Trying to of course get rid of those biting creatures. But how nice is that you've joined us on a safari and you've managed to see one of the most amazing cats. I was trying so hard to try and find them for you because I would have been sad if you didn't see any big cats this afternoon. But we were lucky, and that's what's so cool about going on a safari, and it's why you will never ever get bored. And I hope that you all beg your parents to come on a safari one day, and that's because you can literally just drive around, and around the next corner, like that hyena, it just pops its head up, and oh, hello, another animal. It's very cool, hey? So I'm still trying to figure out exactly which pride of lions this is, because there's so many of them around here, but I think it could be the big sausage tree pride. There's sort of 2 parts to it. This rain is coming close now. I can start just to hear it. Everything always goes a little bit quiet before the big rain comes around. Look at it, look how quickly it's coming in. Now, William, you're wondering if these lions that we're looking at will threaten humans. Well, if I were to get out the car, William, they probably would not be very happy with me because they do have some scraps. But no, in the vehicles you are 100% safe as long as you stay seated and you don't try and touch them as they walk past. They will completely ignore the car. They won't be bothered whatsoever. but it's coming quite quickly. On walking safaris, which we also do, the hyena's got its head up again, and they normally will run away from you. They're actually quite scared of us on foot. I like this little hyena, but otherwise you'll be quite safe as long as you have an expert safari guide with you. I can promise you'll be able to enjoy lions in close proximity and in the wild, which is of course where they belong. Come on, hyena, why don't you come charging in and cause a bit of a stir here? Sometimes lions really hate hyenas. They might have just had some really bad encounters with them. And there's this one lioness from a pride of lions that lives around here. Every time she sees a hyena, she stalks and she chases after that hyena for hundreds of meters. She really, really doesn't like it. But it is getting to that time of the day now. The hyena's starting to wake up. The sun's starting to go down, the rain is starting to fall upon us. We're going to get wet very soon, and it's when the animals get more active, so it's nice and cool. They're not going to be using as much energy now, and it's going to be perfect for them to go hunting again. And I reckon that little meal that they had wouldn't have been enough. I'm convinced it wasn't a big animal, because none of them have got big bulging bellies, so they could eat again. They don't think they'll eat the hyena though. They won't worry about it. Right. I hope that you have all enjoyed our safari this afternoon. It has been very cool. It sounds like you've seen lots and lots of different things, and I hope that you have learned a lot. So from all of us here, all the presenters, all the cameramen, all the directors of the Wild Earth team, we thank you for joining us, and we hope that you all come together again. And I think it's pretty cool you get to watch this at school. But anyways, I'm going to say goodbye to you, and hopefully I'll see you again maybe next week. I'm going to send you, all the rest of you, back across to Ralph in South Africa.
Okay, so we're on the road, we're on the move, and we're hoping that there might be something exciting just around the corner here, because we are coming up to a little waterhole called Treehouse Dam. So sure all the... Oh, look what we have in front of us. A couple of little piggies sticking their tails up, running in front of us like a little family group. They've obviously been down for a little bit of a bath in the mud, and there they are, still just off of the road there. I don't know if Fergus can get in before they run away. They are quite skittish. So a nice little view of a small family group of warthogs. Now, if any of you don't know how to tell between male and female, if they have two sets of warts, two on either side, that's a male, such as that one, and one set of warts is a female. Now, it looks like that one is a male. I think the one in the front is a female. It looked like there were a couple of males there, so it's probably youngsters, probably her offspring. Lovely looking hair. Looks like they've all been to the hairdresser like me, but good thing I've cut my hair. They've just been for a hair straightener. Okay, so it looks like they've been down for a little bit of a dip, the water hole, and they like to do that, and then after doing that they like to go and scratch on a nice rock or and as they run, you see, as immediately as they run, their tails whip up. So they've got a little clump of hair on the end of their tails, and that then stands above the grass, and they can spot that as they're running through, so they can follow each other. And off to our right, ignoring your male, good question. Do warthog have warts? Well, not per se, not like the traditional warts that you would think. So not like your witches and wizards do. More like those growths that they have on the side of their face that look like warts. They're not warts per se. So it's an interesting question, but that's why they're called warthog. Now, I'm not moving forward just yet, folks, because these elephant were moving towards us, and now it seems they're moving down towards the water. So I'm going to start up and head towards them, because it seems we might have a lovely little sighting here coming right up. But remember, we always want to be as innocuous as possible. So we're just going to go forward nice and slowly. It's Mommy with two youngsters, and we don't want to disturb her, especially if she's going for a drink. So I might just drive past them. They're going to throw water all over themselves, and I just want them to relax with our presence, and then I'm going to drive up on the wall where they came from, so that I'm sure they'll probably walk out in a different direction. But I do need to just go slowly, because I don't want to disturb them. Okay, seem quite relaxed, and they seem quite thirsty, so we're going to move forward, and let's hope that we can have a nice little encounter here. I am going to keep my eyes open in case there are any other elephants on their way, because I don't want to block their way down to the water. There are other ways for them to go down, so it shouldn't be a problem, but this should be an ideal little spot for us to watch them having a drink. So we just go a little bit quiet, because we don't want to disturb them. Mommy is just acknowledging that we are here, and now they are relaxing and starting to drink. Ilana, age 14. That is a very good question, Ilana. How many babies would a mommy elephant be able to raise in her lifetime? Now, she lives to about, it would be normally between 60 and 65 years old. Alright? And it takes almost 2 years for her the baby is in her belly for almost 2 years, so 22 months, and she would have successfully a baby every 5 years or so, from the age of about 16. So if we do the maths, we're looking at about 21, 26. Sorry, I'm just counting here on my hands. My maths is terrible, so just give me a second. 6. I would say between 5 and 6, Ilana. That's a very good question. 5, I would say between 5 and 6, but I'm open to anybody correcting me. I'm just taking a very educated guess. And there is a hippo here as well, folks, who's just popped his head up. So we are joined now. I think the hippo was a little bit scared when the elephants came down, so he popped himself underwater. This is a fantastic little sighting. Now, I'm assuming that these two elephants are not both from this female, because generally elephants would only have one youngster. Now, we're sitting here in this absolutely amazing sighting with this, between this elephant and this hippo. But we're going to stay here for the next little while, folks. So don't you worry, when you come back, I'm sure we'll still be here. In the meantime, let's cross over to James and see what he is up to.
Well, what I'm up to is sitting watching a rather amusing situation playing out here. Well, it's quite amusing. There is the green pigeon, African green pigeon, and he's sitting like a sort of innocuous king of the castle. But underneath him, of course, he has necessitated the presence of a bodyguard. That is an Amur falcon. And to me, it looks a little bit like the pigeon, innocuous looking as he is the head of a criminal ring of some sort, and he has need of a predatory falcon to look after him. Should a rival innocuous looking green pigeon come and try and knock him off his perch. Now, when we got here, there were probably a dozen or so Amur falcons in that tree. They all disappeared, And the pigeon, who either has an identity crisis or wants to hang out with the cool kids, has, now been left on his own. I don't think anyone would ever accuse a pigeon of being one of the cool kids. Do you, Viam? Pigeons are cool, yes, in some ways. You're not likely to find them smoking behind the tuck shop, though, are you? Not that that's cool, of course. You know what I mean. Yes, and they're baddies in the cartoons, aren't they? Exactly. They're the baddies in the cartoons. I'm telling you, we're onto something here. There's another large bird of prey just up ahead. I've now, of course, got the image of a pigeon smoking behind the tuck shop in my mind, which I find thoroughly amusing. It's a tawny eagle flying away. Well done, Wim. Great shot there. Fantastic. Beautiful shot there of a tawny eagle taking off. The last golden rays of the sun catching in the filaments of his feathers. Okay. So, we did track Mvula into the bushes just over here. I walked around in there for a while, couldn't find where he came out. I'm afraid I missed that one from Take Care. Do birds something something, a bloop bloop, something, take care. We'll see if we can get it back. No? No. Okay. We'll have to just leave that one. Oh, okay, I think I've kind of got it, half got it. Take care. You're wondering if the birds, especially the bigger ones, get ticks. I think that was the question. Take care. I don't think they do. I don't think they walk through the grass sufficiently. I mean, I imagine that a tick probably sometimes gets onto birds like ostriches or francolins. Ostriches or francolins, or I'm just looking at people up there. See if they've got his tracks, maybe. Maybe some guinea fowl as well. But you know, a bird is pretty limber, which means that it's able to get its beak into just about every part of its body and pull off any insects. So I think you'll find that no tick would manage to stay on the skin of a bird for long. I'm just going to ask these fellows what they're up to. Ask them what their beat is. Hopefully they'll tell me. You know, one wouldn't like to be sort of ignored as we went past them, but we'll see. Some bambalai. Ah, yeah. How's it going? What are you looking for? Male.
I want to see which way she's gone.
She. Is it? How's it? James.
Nice to meet you.
And Viam and Rodney. Hello, Rodney. Sorry, we are live at the moment. We had a male just at the power lines, or just south of the power lines there, and I can't find if he crossed or not.
Really?
So I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
good luck. I'm going to turn around and go back the other way. I'll keep an eye. All right. So female leopard tracks. These chaps are following up on. Human, Tiani. Who do you think? Which one? Don't know. Shadow's on Little Gari. So maybe it's Tiani. Anyway, let us continue. Do our best. Okay. I've turned round. So Mvula hasn't come up this far. I think we're probably going to head down towards Treehouse Dam now. I don't have all day to look for this leopard, much as Viam would like me to, wouldn't you, Viam? Yes. You say he's here. Viam is convinced that he's here. Viam is quite often right. Alright, while we knock about here, try and figure out what's going on, let's go back to Ralph and his elephants.
So, we're still here at the Treehouse Dam, and we still have a wonderful sighting of these elephants. They've had a lovely little drink. and they've been spraying themselves with water under the belly. They've also been throwing sand on themselves. I just want to watch Mommy, because if she wants to come back along this road, I'm going to make way for her. But it seems like she might be going around. So,
As am I.
and as is Fergus. Sorry, it's just because of the way that we're positioned. I might, once they move, folks, sorry about that bar there. I'm just on the damn wall, so it's a little bit difficult for me to turn sideways, and I don't want to disturb them at the moment. So, hence the reason we're just not moving at present. I'm not going to reposition until she gives us enough space for us to move. So I think that's alright for now. Now, these two little youngsters are quite of similar age, and it is extremely rare that an elephant has twins. The one is a little bit younger than the other, but I do think that this female is babysitting for one of the other females. Now don't forget that elephants have mammary glands like humans behind the front legs, which is quite unusual for animals that walk on four legs. But they are quite swollen, so she is obviously lactating, and one of these youngsters, I do believe it's probably that younger one that's in view at the moment. That's probably her baby, and the one to the left is maybe having a bit of a play date today. Now you can see just on her head she is leaking from her temporal gland. Now that is quite normal. Sometimes it can be stress related, but it's not very wet. When you come up on elephants and you give them a surprise, or you see them on foot, or they are very stressed, that temporal gland leaks excessively, and it'll be very wet on the side. Just behind the eye there, you can see that wet line. That's leaking from the temporal gland. And that can be a sign of stress, but it can, maybe because it was a very hot day, and it had been quite a while since you had a drink. All these little stress factors can also be a reason for that temporal gland leaking a little bit, but it is an indication of some form of stress. But stress is normal for all animals, and it's not necessarily an indication that she's in a bad way in any way whatsoever. Maybe just that she's had a little bit of a difficult day. Now they have moved off a little bit, so I want to move back and just try and get a better view. I'm going to go straight back, and I'm just going to watch their behavior. I don't want to disturb them. There we go. I'm just moving back a little bit. Alright folks, I'm just going to reposition, and in the meantime let's cross over to Taylor and see what she is up to.
Well, we had a nice herd of impala, but they've now run towards the tree line, I think, anticipating the storm that's still slowly moving along the escarpment. I think they could be safe now though, but it is very, very far away, as you can see. So we're going to carry on now. Just like looking at... Does it sound bad? I'm not sure why. Jahawi says I sound so beautiful in his ears. Okay, let's carry on. I'm not sure really what we're doing now. We're just playing a game of let's avoid the rain. And so things are going to go flying off the car as we were stopped watching the impala. So we're going to go back basically the same route which we came. We're going to go along the river road I'm going to try and not be strangled by my mic cable this evening because I feel like that's about to happen. And while we try and find some more animals, we're going to hop back across onto Brent's car. It seems as though he's got a hippopotamus, whether it's in the water or out the water, I'm not really sure.
This hippo was in the water and it's been chased out by the massive rainstorm that Archie and I have just sat through. And it came down very, very hard when we were in this area. Now it's nice and cool, so the hippo's out, but I think this hippo was sleeping in this little lugger. And as Archie comes out, you'll have a look there. You can see the river that is flowing. That was absolutely dry when we came down the hill this afternoon. So you can see that. So I'm sure the hippo was probably sleeping in a little depression where there's a bit of water in this little river, and now that it's been rushing down, he's moved out and he said, well, you know what, if I'm up, I might as well have a feed. Now remember, this is 100% live. Now fortunately for us, Archie and myself, that is, we managed to stay relatively dry, tucked up in our car tent while we waited for the rain to pass. Now if we look high up on the hill, you can see that there's not much in terms of sort of tributaries of this little stream. So just those little, there was so much rain around the top of the hill that those tiny little streams have fed this into a river where there was none earlier. Well, I'm happy to have stayed dry. Ben says, wow, well, the rainy season here is quite impressive. It can dump down in half an hour, 45 minutes, we can have 50, 60 mils, even 100 mils of rain. So, as I said, Archie and I are quite fortunate. We managed to brave the worst of it. And we're hoping it's left us for now. Archie, is there anyone behind us?
Nope.
No, so I can reverse. There's some cars in front of us, and I'm going to go see if I can find some lions in the mud now. Okay, well, I see if we can go find some lions. Let's go across to my good friend James, and he's got something even bigger than our hippo.
There is the buttocks of an elephant, very impressive buttocks of a young bull elephant, and quite a lot more impressive about him if you look carefully. And he does smell a little bit like he's in must, which of course smells like sweet leather. But I think he's a youngster. Well, I know he's a youngster. I can see he's a youngster. He's probably about 18 to 20 years old, and he's got a friend just in front of us, also 18 to 20 years old. And they're just very quietly going about their peaceful Friday afternoon business, possibly thinking about going to the club later on. What do you think, Viam?
Yeah, but getting the bar.
I'm sure they'll go to a bar first. Yes, after their supper. They're just having some grass for supper. Then they'll head off, have a shower, put on their smart town clothes and head out for a razzle. Kaylin, you're wondering about the paths that they make and whether they make large pathways that other animals follow. You know what, in this area I don't think they do very much. I think that's left to animals like hippo. I think that hippo moving away from large waterholes leave paths in the evenings because they often follow the same routes. And rhino. Rhino often follow the same paths to and from waterholes, and I think they probably start the paths, and then they can be followed by things like buffalo. And elephants, when they move, interestingly, move with a very sort of it's very carefully. They very carefully place their feet. They don't drag their feet along. And so, unlike a rhino, which leaves a very obvious road where he's moved, elephants don't do that. Yeah, no, he's probably about 18 or 20 years old, maybe coming into his first proper must. But certainly nothing that's driving him to too much of a passioned frenzy. doesn't want to be about an elephant in a passionate frenzy. Certainly he's clearly feeling slightly passionate, but not overwhelmingly so. Right, no, I think this is a very good question, given what I've said earlier. You say, ignoring your male, that's the name of the person who's asked this question. If elephant could dance, what would they look like? Well, when they go to the club, I suppose that I imagine an elephant like this, probably not a very good dancer. I think he'd probably do that sort of side-to-side shuffle. He's got that sort of vibe around him. He'd probably look a little bit awkward, standing in the corner, shuffling from side to side with his friend. And then perhaps he'd build up a little bit of courage in the face of some younger females, and you might go and suggest to them that they have a dance with him. But, I can't imagine an elephant doing too much break dancing. I think you'd probably find rhino doing that. Rhinos seem to be a lot more, although they're big, of course, they have a much more obvious spring in their step. And so I can imagine a rhino doing busting out some moves on the dance floor, possibly just twisting around on his back feet. But the elephant, no, I've got very much an impression of him standing in the corner, shuffling from side to side, drinking an Alco pop. Okay, we'll sit here a little bit longer with our elephants. I'm not sure how long for, because Ralphie has found himself yet more elephant.
Okay, folks, so we're back with the little play date group. Now, remember I was talking about that temporal gland. I'm sure this mommy, with her looking after these two youngsters, I'm sure that is the reason for that little bit of stress. I know what it can be like looking after two kids at once. And she's flapping her ears a little bit, obviously still keeping cool. It is relatively warm, even though the cloud cover has come in a bit. Still in the mid 80 degrees Fahrenheit, more than 30 degrees centigrade. So it's not cold. It has cooled off with the clouds coming through, but still quite hot. So she's passing a lot of blood through those ears, and with her flapping the ears like that, keeping herself nice and cool. It's like a real manual radiator. Jane asking the question, how much of the trunk would an elephant have to lose for it not to be able to be used anymore? It's quite a good question, Jane. I have seen elephants in my life that have had their trunks snared, and then they've, as a result, lost a piece of the trunk, and they've continued to use it. However, they lose that sort of finger-like appendage at the end, right at the tip. So it isn't as dexterous as it would be now. Like you can see, she picking up on those little pieces of grass one by one, and then sort of grabbing it and pulling it up. But what it did, the one that lost the piece of the trunk, it was sort of just wrapping it around grass and then pulling it out. So it did make a plan, and it could use it still. It's almost like losing a piece of your finger. You can learn to be without it. Now, I think for it to lose complete use of the trunk, it would have to be in that sort of 7-liter capacity that it's got to suck water up. I think once that cavity on the inside has been totally cut away, I think it would be difficult for the elephant to survive. However, elephants are very intelligent animals, and they are adaptable as well, as I've seen with them having cut some of the trunk off. But the difficulty comes, it would have to literally put its mouth in the water to be able to drink, which is possible. So I think it's a lovely question. It's It's a lovely question, and I don't know the exact answer, but I do believe that elephants will adapt and they'll make a plan. So, while we watch these elephants disappear into the brush, let's cross over to Brent, who's got some feline animals for you.
There we go. We're not the only ones who survived the rainstorm. The Angama pride. We're not too far away from where we were sitting. And they were completely flat, so this lovely lady just popped up to show you herself. As the grass is quite long, and when they are lying down, as you can see around her, they're almost invisible. It took us a while to actually spot them. There's still a bit of rain around, but hopefully it looks like the rain around us is over. Oh, another head up. There's one adult lioness that we can see clearly, and one of the youngsters. Well, no need to get a drink when you can just lick yourself at the moment. Oh dear, back to doo-doos. I was hoping that rainstorm might have got them up and on the move. Now, these rainstorms in the Mara are incredible, and I think they actually took shelter under that balanites tree. If we go off to the right slightly, there's another storm, probably quite similar to the one that Archie and I just sat through, just dumping down. And if you go a bit wider there, Arch. Safi, habari, awewe? So if you go a bit wider, you can see how localized the rain is. So, I mean, Taylor, I don't think, got a drop on her, whereas Archie and I got stuck in the middle, actually two of those that converged over us. Yes, McKirdy didn't get a drop on her, and we got solidly rained upon for quite a considerable time as well. So we were stuck in one of those. But it is amazing. You can see how localized the rain is. And while the lines are flat, if we come have a look around and we just pan across, you can see, there we go, there's another localized storm, there's another one there. That one's a bit bigger though. So you can see how localized some of the rain can be. But we're literally surrounded by rain everywhere except sort of due south to Tanzania. Now, Volpine Wolfgirl's wondering, do we ever get flooding? Flash flooding in particular. Yes, flash flooding happens in this part of Africa really often. Now, there's a spot where we often, if we're going from here to Talek, we've got a cross called double crossing, and you can easily get stuck in the middle of double crossing or on the wrong side of double crossing, and the only way around is a very long drive. So yes, flash flooding is a problem. I've been caught a couple of times quite close to camp as well. Those little luggers really get full very quickly. So it was when we first arrived in the Mara in May, Eggsy and I actually got caught not far from here, and we had to wait for about 45 minutes for the water to go down low enough that we could cross it. Now, crossing water in a big 4x4 is not a problem. You can do it. I mean, it depends on the type of water. I've crossed many rivers, flooded in rivers with the water going over the bonnet, coming in the doors, and I've even crossed in the Okavango, but that's a bit different because the water flows very slowly. I've crossed basically like this, with me sitting like this in an open car with water up to here and just my foot on the accelerator. The most important trick is when you're crossing those type of things is not to stop. As soon as you stop, you're going to get into trouble, and sometimes big trouble. And snorkels on vehicles do help, but if you keep that momentum going, you actually form a little air bubble around the intake of the car, and you can enough air as long as you're not driving for 300 meters in the water, which you can do sometimes. I have had to do before as well, but you can cross water. But with flash flooding, you've got to be very careful. And quite often what you'll do is, before you even attempt to cross a flooded portion of water, you walk through it. You always walk through it, because you don't know what's happening, because often with flash floods the water's very dirty, and there might have been rocks or a rock bridge there, but with depending on the power of the water, some of those rocks might have moved. So you always walk your line. So you walk across the flooded side on your where you want to put your one tire, and then you walk back where you want to put the other tire. And generally you're quite safe from crocodiles in those situations. Crocodiles don't like that roaring water any more than we do. But I'm going to leave the Angamas. I think they're going to be snoozing for a while, see if we can find anything else just before the end of drive. But James sounds like he's having a wonderful time with some more elephants.
Now we are sitting here with more elephants. We've shifted slightly. We've got a little breeding herd walking into the bushes here, and in fact there are probably a good 30 elephants in the bushes to the left-hand side of where we're now sitting. And Viam's plan is that we should sit here until they flush Mvula out. And one of them just screamed, and we thought maybe they'd spotted the leopard, but they haven't, I don't think. So what I would like to do, Viam, I know this is going to result in you having to re-level your camera, but I'm going to sneak forward slightly, just so we have a better view. It's going to give them a bit of space. They're both sides of the road now. This road is quite astonishingly bad. Anyway, there we have a little one, just learning how to eat trees with an open mouth. And if you listen carefully, you can hear them talking to each other. Hello, my dear. I don't mean to cause you offence. You will tell me if you'd like me to leave, would you? She's a young mother, that one. I don't think she's more than... I wouldn't say she was more than the same age as those young males. 18 to 20 or so. She's not very big. And here comes a whole other group coming across. Claire, you're wondering when elephants reach their full size. Now, in theory, elephants keep growing until the day they drop dead, but I mean that can be quite difficult, but they will keep growing. I think they'll probably reach their full mass. I'm going to say for male about 50. About 50 years old, and possibly a little bit younger, maybe 45 or so, and then while they may still grow a little taller, I don't think they shrink, I think you'll find that their ability to maintain muscle mass, same as it is with human beings, probably reduces. I must apologize for the fact that we have a road in the shot, but there are just elephants all over it, and so, well, sometimes we just have to deal with human infrastructure, don't we? Lots and lots of them coming out of Arathusa onto Djuma. Going to be a whole lot more coming out in front of us now. I'm not going to move. We'll get them coming relatively close by. Oh, and the young bull's having a tussle. There we go. Oh, look at this little thing now. It's very cross. Yes, hello. Don't fall. You'll look very ridiculous. See how it's seeking out the company of that cow who we originally saw, even though she's almost certainly not his mother. But they will all protect each other. The youngster's having a little bit of a box. Excuse the telegraph pole. It's not really a telegraph pole so much as an electricity pole, I think. I'm not sure they send telegraphs on it anymore. Just so very quiet and peaceful. They won't be going to the club tonight, Viam. They'll be going home for, I guess, some supper. Maybe they'll watch series. Friday nights used to be MacGyver. Do you remember that, Viam?
Yeah, I think MacGyver.
I liked MacGyver too. It was my favourite. Friday night MacGyver with a pizza. Delicious. It was before we realized that everything we ate was bad for us. Oh, very exciting. Look over there. Look who's there. Faith, I'm not going to link just yet if you don't mind, unless you're desperate. That is Fang. She's one of the most favourite elephants for all of our viewers. And for those of you who don't know, Fang, I don't know if we've seen her since then, but the last time I was around when Fang was seen, I was on a bushwalk, and Tristan had the most heart-rending sighting of her. It was really a quite astounding thing, where she was lying on the floor, seemingly about to give birth or in agony, and perhaps having a miscarriage or breech birth or something like that. And Tristan spent, I think, probably 2 hours with the elephant. And she lay there surrounded by her sisters and aunts and cousins, I guess. And they waited with her while she writhed in pain on the ground, and we wondered if she wasn't going to die. That was the last time I had anything to do with her, and now here she is. That is most exciting. I didn't notice that at first because her squaff tooth was behind the trees. I'm sure many of you will be extremely happy to see her. She looks pretty pregnant to me. Let's wait for her to come out from behind there. What's interesting here is that she's also using that recurved tusk to pick branches. So she's, although it's almost certainly a deformation, I mean, it's definitely that she's deformed. And I'm told by Faith that the internet is breaking at the sight of Fang. So you're all very happy to see her. And why shouldn't you be? She's a very special lady, our Fang. Even if she could eat an apple through a tennis racket. Not so, Viam.
Eat an apple for a tennis racket?
Yes, have you never heard that expression?
Never in my life heard it.
It's quite a good one, though.
What does it mean?
It means that your teeth are so protrude so far out of your mouth that you could eat an apple through a tennis racket. She's... Never mind, everyone. And you know, it's so unusual to be able to identify an elephant character like this. I mean, we've got our leopard characters because they stay in the same places, so we get to know them really well. And often we see the same elephants, but we don't realize they're the same elephants. Sinak, you want to know how many elephants are in Fang's herd. I don't know, Sinak. The last time we saw her, probably about 15 or 16 of them. It was quite a big herd. But there are elephants all over here now. So you'll probably find that it's at least 2 herds of elephants, 2 groupings. And I was just saying, she does use that tusk. She puts branches between it and the trunk and breaks them off. It is quite a formidable looking thing. And we've often wondered, of course, if she doesn't stab her own leg with it. Miss Lynn, you mustn't look at the wilderness like this. I know it's almost impossible, but you say, Fang, one less worry. You mustn't worry. Everything happens here in a way, I don't mean to get too philosophical about this, but while we're looking at her, I often used to, less so now, get worried about animals that I really like to see. And it used to give me some sort of almost sleepless nights. But I feel like they have such an acceptance of their lot in life almost, that it's almost what should we say, patronizing to worry about them, you know what I mean? But I take what you mean when you say one less worry. Well, here she is, one of our favorite elephant characters, if not our favorite elephant character, and she seems to be just fine. Alrighty, we're going to stay right here with Fang and her friends. While we do that, I believe Brent would like to bid you a fond adieu.
Well, we went to look for the lions, we found the lions, we came back. Now, this hippo is where there was no water when we did our first little segment here. The water has risen as more water is running off the escarpment. I mean, there was no hippo, there was no water there 20 minutes ago, half an hour ago, and look at that. Now, even then, as I said, there was no water on the road. And now, for our last little goodbye, we get to make a splash. Who's ready to make a splash? Bye, hippo. So look at that, it's already, oh, actually, let's show you this side quickly as well. So there is the main pipe, and there's too much water for the main pipe to handle. And you can see that mist roaring up off from some mini waterfall from the water pipe under the road and cutting in there, and now there's just so much water coming down off the escarpment that it's created a little dam here, and it is even overflowing. Look at this, overflowing. Splash time, yay! Isn't that fun? Make a splash? But we don't want to use that road at the moment, because that road is a river. Lynn is wondering, how hard is it after it rains to get up that hill to get home? Lynn, it also just depends on how much rain we've had, and it can be so localized that the hill's fine, although I think today it's going to be a bit slippery. Yeah, it's not too bad. There's quite a lot of rock there, so it gives you some traction. But sometimes, if you try to drive up it in the rain, it is really bad. But I think it'll be okay. Hopefully. No, I'm only joking. I think it will be absolutely fine to get up the hill. It'll be a bit slippery and slidey. I think Madam McCurdy is ahead of us already on her way up the hill. So if she gets stuck, I can help her up the hill, you know. I'm a gentleman like that. Oof, but it has got very chilly. But for our last and final goodbye, the sky is just so magnificent tonight. So let's have one last look at that storm that's now moved towards the escarpment. It was sitting standalone over the plain earlier, and now it has gone to the right towards the escarpment, and there's just quite a beautiful color coming through. So from us here in the Mara, and a wet Mara with lots of frogs making a noise, let's go back to that lovely elephant Fang and Master James Hendry.
Okay. Right, everybody, here we are still with Fang. We're going to find her again. I'm just saying hello to an old friend of mine there who's going to do some guide training here. Head ranger at one stage, Londolozi Game Reserve. He ran Mabeja in Botswana. Helped set up the Good Work Foundation in Hazy View, and now, thankfully, he's come to do some training up here. There we have Fang. Is it not working? Liam is dissatisfied with the sound I'm producing. How about now? 1, 2. 1, 2. It's tight. Is it right? 1, 2. 3, 4. Fang, Fang. Coming through the bush. It's still down.
No, so you can stop now.
Yeah, I can stop now. Thank you. And there is that recurved tusk, and you can see why we're concerned about whether she might stab herself with it or not. But obviously, she's got tremendously used to having it. And now the afternoon really starting to settle. The odd drongo calling in the background. One or two of those white-browed scrub robins, bit of colour in the sky as the sun starts to move south. Bless you, Viam.
No, sorry, I'm a bit allergic
You're allergic to elephants, are you? I'm sorry about that. Let's go forward and see if we can't get a slightly better view. That's wonderful. I mean, I knew she was quite popular, but I perhaps didn't realise quite how popular. Ali, you say the best early Christmas present ever. Ali, well, that's wonderful. I'm glad we've given you an early Christmas present. It is wonderful to see her again. And looking very well. She's a big cow. I'd put her at least, say, 45 years old. At least. She's got quite a masculine build too. And by that I mean she's got a curved back. But she is definitely not a male. And they're talking to each other, just giving the odd grumble. Read something interesting today, and I always thought elephants were the exception, but if you look at Fang, you can see she isn't. Let me move forward again slightly. Human beings are the only species on Earth, well, the only mammal species, because nobody else doesn't apply to anyone else, that have permanently engorged mammary glands. In other words, every other species on Earth has large mammary glands only when they're feeding, and I hadn't realized the same about elephants, but if you look between her legs there, you can definitely see that she is a female, that she has lactated at some stage, but that she is not lactating at the moment. And so her teats are obviously enlarged from many calves, but they're clearly not engorged like they are in human beings, which I just think is rather fascinating. I didn't realize that until today.
What about a cow?
No, cows' udders also will... Them just asked me what about a cow. And a cow's udders will absolutely reduce if she is not lactating, if she's not going to be milked. Next question, Vim. Any other questions you have about this subject?
No.
No? Kaylin, you're wondering about fermented fruits and whether animals eat fermented fruits. Possibly a question, Kaylin or Talon. You're Palin with a P. Palin with a P. You're probably wondering because, of course, there are apocryphal stories about elephants becoming drunk on marula fruits, and I think they will avoid. It's impossible for them to get drunk on marula fruits, first of all, but I also think that they will avoid eating fermented fruits because they just taste like rotten fruit, and unless they're desperate, I don't think they'll eat them. So I think they eat marula fruits because they taste nice, they're sweet, they're delicious, but I think that they would leave kind of rotting, fermenting ones alone. Unless they had developed some sort of taste for it, but there's definitely no kind of alcoholic effect on them. They've crossed back over the road, and your leopard has not appeared yet. Do you have any idea why, Vim? Okay. Alright, we can't go off-road to see Fang, I'm afraid, because she's headed into Arathusa, so I think we're going to carry on now and see what else we can find. We'll do a quick turn past where we thought Mvula might have been, and then I'm afraid I'm going to drag Vim kicking and screaming down towards Treehouse Dam and see if there isn't anything down that way. Is that right, Vim? He's here, says Vim. Alright, we'll go to Treehouse Dam, then we'll come back this way. Is that alright? Okay, thanks. There's a large elephant on our right-hand side. You see him? He's very sweet. Hello, little fellow. Pulling at the new green grass, the Panica maximum or guinea grass. and being fairly flatulent about his existence. Elephants, of course, produce an astonishing amount of gas. In fact, any pure vegetarian does. I don't know about the human variety, but the animal variety definitely. Those with bacteria-filled stomachs. He's a wonderful fellow, totally relaxed around us, which is just great. I mean, to the extent of just not acknowledging our presence even. Still quite muggy and warm, so you can see him flapping his ears from time to time just to keep a little bit cool. What is the temperature now? Does the weather strap work? Ah, 87 and 30 degrees. So we've dropped off 2 degrees since we began. Spectra, nice question. You say, what is the weirdest deformity I've ever seen in an animal? I suppose it would have been in an elephant called Elvina. And Elvina had knees that bent the wrong way. And so she was unable to walk. I've told this dreadful story about her before, she could walk, but she could walk only very, very slowly. And she was part of a herd down at Londolozi, and for 4 years, I think, they walked with her, and they stayed with her, and they kept her going. And then one day they just left her. Who knows why, but they left her. She either got too weak to keep up with them, but eventually the herd detached from her, and she was killed eventually by about 25 hyenas in the most harrowing, dreadful sighting. And I think that was probably the worst deformity that I've ever seen on an animal. Certainly the one that was most crippling or most harmful. But even you see odd things on animals. You see impala with squaff horns. You see... if you've never seen a deformed leopard, I've never seen any deformity in a leopard, I don't think. I just don't think they'd survive. So in those animals that will have help like this, I guess they'll survive beyond birth, basically. I mean, if a lion cub was born with some sort of deformity, she'd almost certainly die immediately because the mother would not make any effort to try and look after her. But elephants slightly different, wild dogs probably slightly different also. Okay, on we go. Ah, Linda, you say which animal produces the most gas? Well, as an animal suite, cows produce the most gas, and interestingly, it doesn't mostly come out of their buttocks. It comes out of their mouths. They belch. So the ruminants belch, and they make a lot of methane in the rumen. So I guess the biggest ruminant would be the animal that produced the most gas, and that would be, I guess, a buffalo or no, it wouldn't be a buffalo. Well, it could be buffalo or giraffe or even eland, I suppose. They probably produce the most gas from the mouth. I need to turn down here, I'm sorry. We'll come back for your leopard, VM. Okay, promise. The loudest and proudest gas producer, of course, are the equids. So the zebra is a very proud gas producer. Every time they run, they kind of explosively leap off the ground as though they are aiding their movement with some sort of jet propulsion. More elephants up in front of us. This is wonderful. I feel like the universe is telling us we shouldn't leave this area. Yeah. You agree with that, do you? Let's drive a little bit slowly up here. Hello. Good day. This is the kind of elephant that wishes it was going to the club, but isn't quite old enough yet, and so will have to stay behind. It won't have to go. It won't have to go to bed after MacGyver, Vim. It'll be allowed to stay up for Riptide as well.
And the
or Magnum PI. On the Friday night movie. American Ninja 7.
Sci-fi report.
Sorry everybody, we're just reliving our childhoods in South Africa where we had one channel to watch, and VM of course is Afrikaans speaking and I'm English speaking, and so VM had Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays, and I had Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. But we both watched MacGyver. I don't know how we got to that when we're looking at an elephant here. Elephant eating Acacia gerardii, the red thorn. You can see that is not the first time this Acacia gerardii has been savaged by an elephant. And I will just never quite understand how it is that they can cope with the thorns. That's it, come and say hello to us. We want to be your friend. Yes, we do. Hello. It is very kind of you now. It's only about 3 meters from us, closing the distance to 2 meters. Look at his eye. Look at the colour on his eye. Orange. Careful, you might trip over that quarry bush, my friend. He's just coming to say hello. And as I always say, or I used to say when I was living here, which I am now again, these elephants are curious because they're bored, I think, especially the young bulls. So they come and say hello to us. And I think it's one of the major advantages of being here versus the Mara, of course, with its astonishing abundance and diversity. We seldom got elephant sightings like this one. Very special. Anyway, he's just crossing behind us. And the rest of the herd now walking kind of towards us, so we'll just watch out, make sure we're not in their way. Mostly youngsters. He's going back across the road there. They still haven't flushed VM's friend. I think I'm getting the name right. LizFame95, a question about why it is that the dung of a carnivore smells so much worse than that of a herbivore. It's got to do, obviously, with the contents of the food, but remember, a carnivore that eats meat eats a much denser nutrient load. So what that means is that there are far more toxins in flesh than there would be in vegetation. Vegetation is largely water. Well, I mean, so is meat. But the concentration of proteins and other chemicals in meat is much higher than it would be in something like in grass or in leaves or in fruit. And that's why. And it's why the digestive tract of a carnivore is much, much shorter than that of a herbivore's. These herbivores have got hugely long intestines, much longer than ours even, and then the carnivore's much shorter than us. And it's interesting because the length of our digestive tract suggests that we are largely vegetable eaters, but that we do eat quite a lot of sort of nuts and seeds and meat and that sort of thing, but not as much as I can't believe this. Not as much as a carnivore. Let's go to Ralph. He's got what we've been looking for all day.
Okay, folks, so it's been quite exciting. Everybody was spreading around and trying to find the elusive leopard, and guess what? We found one. And I've just been trying to identify who this particular animal is, and I do believe it's Mvula. I'm not 100% certain. I'm looking at the family tree and the identifying features, but it does look like him. But let's just see as he comes through towards us. and anybody is welcome to say who they think it is. I'm looking at the spot patterns just above the whiskers, and I only saw the one side. He's walking right up the road towards us, and obviously if he comes past us I need to stay dead still. Okay folks, so he might come right past me. And I do believe it is Mvula. Okay, so he's gone right behind us. He's continuing up along the road. I do think it's Mvula. Good stuff, folks. I did think it was. So, and he's still on the road. He's starting to mark. We're all trying to turn around now. I'm going to obviously try and keep out of the way of these other guests as well, because they were here first. But I'll just move through if I don't stall. They need to get out a little bit more. We obviously don't want to lose him. He is on the road, so we're going to follow up behind him. He has been marking, and I think that's what he's going to be doing now for the next little while. And he's continuing up along the road. The other vehicle is just coming out now. So when they come up behind us, I will also allow them space to be able to view Mvula. So that's lovely. That's the first time I've seen, I think it's Mvula, but we'll have another look when we see his face. Okay folks, that's great. If we have confirmation, I will wait until I can see him properly to confirm for myself, but I'm not arguing with anybody. I'm sure you guys know what you're talking about. I'm just looking at the spot pattern myself.
Thanks, Bob.
I'll come up behind you.
Good afternoon.
Thanks.
How are you?
Awesome, you too.
Good.
Good. Okay folks, so we're just going to follow up behind this vehicle with guests in it, and it's very exciting. We've got this animal moving up the road here now. Okay, as I said, if we can get a view past the vehicle we will, but this Mvula or Tingana, Fang Tingana, there he is, off to the side of the vehicle there. There we go. So we just going to follow up along with him as he's walking now on his territorial loop. Okay, Philip is saying that those legs are longer and thicker on Mvula, and these are longer and shorter and thinner. Okay, just watching him lastly. That other vehicle has gone off now, so we've got this sighting all to ourselves. Are they spinning around? Okay, so they're going from the front. You see how he's marking? He's probably going to spray now. Yep, there we go. Okay, classic territorial marking of a leopard. So Tingana has got a spot marking of 5'5". Now for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, we're talking just above the whisker line. Those dots or spots just above the whisker line. Tingana Okay, there was a comment about Mvula's ears. Yeah, look. Okay, folks, I'm going on all of your different Okay, Malara is saying that Mvula has very tattered ears. I just want to get in a little bit closer. These ears are quite tatty at the top, and we will just go through the process of elimination. But for the time being, I'm not too worried about which individual this is. I'm worried about what he's doing at the moment, which is his territorial loop, his marking, etc. When he stops, if we get the privilege of seeing him stop, then I'm going to then continue with the real identification. But you guys on your stationary position is more than welcome to carry on with your identification features. Just me behind the wheel here. And let's see, they're not as tatty as I thought initially, so I think you're right. Maybe it is Tingana, but I was obviously looking more so at the spot pattern, which is what I'm going to use to continue. He's going to just be passing that vehicle up front in a minute, and we're going to stick with this guy, whether it's Tingana or Mvula, along his little territorial loop here. This is fantastic. Now it quite well could be Tingana, just for the sole reason being that I know yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, that leopard that was sighted with the wild dogs that jumped out of the tree when they killed that little baby impala, that was Mvula, if I'm not mistaken, from hearing from the other guys. So if it was Mvula, he would have had to move a very long way. So I'm assuming this is Tingana now, and just going on that. But I'm gonna just see if I can follow him, and then we just keep a lovely sight on him. Once again, folks, I'm also just allowing this other vehicle, but there he is up in front. Okay, we just allow priority for the other vehicle. And they were obviously in the sighting before us, so they also maintain priority. So sorry that we're allowing them to go through, but we will also allow us an opportunity to have a good view of this leopard. So I'll just move off a little bit on this. See how well habituated these animals are to the vehicles. He is not perturbed in any way whatsoever with these following vehicles, huh? A leopard that is not habituated to vehicles like this, I mean, all he would have needed to do was to hear a vehicle, and they literally disappear. Okay, and he's still moving. Very exciting as well, because if a leopard is on the move like this, okay, he's doing his territorial markings, but there's always that possibility with him moving, we might witness a hunt, or we might witness some interaction with some other predators, and it's nice and cool, perfect for moving. Mary commenting that Mvula doesn't hardly ever mark territory. That's probably a very good statement, Mary, but Mvula, all males will at some other stage mark their territories, but maybe he doesn't do it quite as much, so I'm not disagreeing with you, but even the little male Djuma, he's also been marking his territory, so they might just be a little bit less so than the other guys, but they can't help it, they do need to mark. So he has concentrated on something there. So if we're speaking of this being Tingana, born around 2006, stationary. He's concentrated on something there through the grass, but no, he's just moving off. And we will follow suit shortly. See how he just disappears through the brush there? And the camouflage is absolutely amazing. Still quite heavy breathing because it is still quite warm. Okay, folks, we're going to continue following up about behind this Tingana or Mvula. I'll go with Tingana. I'm not questioning anybody. But in the meantime, I think James has got a reptilian version of what we've been following.
Look at this astonishing sighting here. We have tortoise love, everybody. Tortoise passion. Is this not amazing? I don't think I've seen this before. She's just woken up now. She's realized that there's a male trying to be amorous. Who knows if he's... Look at this. Now what's interesting is that the female has been stomped on, possibly attacked by a ground hornbill at some stage. You can see she's got a cracked carapace there, and his claws are almost going into the hole. And you can see how much smaller he is, and I'm going to be quiet now, just try and listen. Every time he opens his mouth there and looks like he's putting extra effort in, there's a kind of hiss of air. And I don't want to go any closer. We're about 40 meters away from these fellows. Well, one fellow, one lady. But he's really putting a lot of effort into this date that they're having, this Friday night dalliance. She could not look less interested if she tried. One wonders if she even realizes he's there. I mean, he does look like he's in paroxysms of ecstasy. Yeah, no, she's fallen asleep now. She thinks there's something going on behind her, but she can't quite tell what exactly. I am joking, of course. I mean, she knows that there's something going on, and she can feel him hitting her on the back, getting his claws stuck in the hole on her top of her carapace. One wonders how long this will go on for, because the effort looks supreme on his part. I've never seen this before. Sinak, you're wondering about the number of eggies they lay. I have naturally forgotten, but I do have a book that will tell me. So stand by while we watch the process of, well, I suppose egg making rather than egg laying. I'll try and find out for you. Reptiles, tortoise, the leopard tortoise. Where is it? Surely this book has got the leopard tortoise in it. It's the most common chelonid we get. Oh, I think it's this one here. 6 to 15 eggs laid in the summer. No, that's not the right That's not the right tortoise. This is bizarre. There is no leopard tortoise in this book, which is of course the most common tortoise we get in the country. Anyway, a Speaks Hinged lays about 2 to 4, and that lives around here. So not as many as some snake species will, and certainly not as many as some turtle species will. So if I look at the turtles, of course, loggerhead turtle 100, leatherback turtle 120, marsh terrapins 10 to 30, that's interesting, serrated hinged terrapins 7 to 13. So I'm going to say that this female tortoise will eventually, once she finishes doing what she's doing there, will lay probably somewhere around 6 eggs. Apparently we are going to go across to Tingana now, who is eyeing something to eat for dinner.
Okay, folks, Tingana's just walked up the road here. Now he's just looking off to the right. There are some impala in the thicket. And he's just looking out at the impala, stopped dead on the road. I'm not sure if the impala have spotted him. None of them have started to alarm call. And they're starting to move towards them, so... And he's laying down now. He's focused on them, but he's not totally gone into hunting mode just yet. He's just watching them. Lovely sighting, this. I'm just going to move back for this vehicle in front. Sorry about that, folks. Just needs to have a little bit of space. We can move out. We're obviously in a little bit of a tight squeeze here with this quite thick bush. We'll just give him a little bit of space and we'll get a little bit closer and have a look, alright? So folks, as we're making our way a little bit closer there, apologies for anybody that thinks that I'm questioning whether it's Tingana or not. It's just for myself, my own personal identification process that I would like to go through. I'm not questioning anybody's identification that this is Tingana, okay? Some impala up off the road, and they haven't noticed him yet. They're still moving through the brush. That's a few male just over there. They don't seem to have picked him up just yet. They might. They're a little bit nervous, but they haven't started alarm calling. So they might have got a little bit of a swirling breeze towards them, making them a little bit cautious, but they haven't identified that there's a leopard here just yet. And he's frozen. He's obviously trying to work out whether it's worth an approach. We're obviously staying a little bit quiet, because we do have other vehicles around, and we also don't want to disturb anything that's going to happen here. With the vehicle starting and everything, you can see that there's absolutely no reaction. And the impala don't react, the leopard doesn't react. So it's a lovely position to be in. Now I'm just being a little bit quiet as well for us to enjoy the sighting as it happens live right now. And he starts to walk up down the road again. Sinek asking the question, what do leopards do at night? Do they ever hunt? Sinek, leopards predominantly hunt in the dark. They've got heightened eyesight that enables them to be able to see better than the antelope and the prey species, and as well as it being very cool at night, or a lot cooler than during the day, it allows for them to be actually more nocturnal, meaning that they're actually more active at night and actually predominant during the evening and during the dark hours. So this is generally the time when leopards will start their activity. This is the time when they sort of start up and start moving around, marking their territory, and then possibly going on the hunt. So he'll probably mark his territory now, go for a drink, and then possibly do a bit of a hunt. While he's marking his territory, he might also, be an optimist. He'll obviously take anything on the go. If something presents itself, he'll chase it even now. But it does seem that he's not extremely hungry, because I think otherwise he would have had a go at these impala. So he might have eaten yesterday already, and maybe something quite big, in which case he's not overly hungry. So maybe those impala were a little bit too much of an effort for him. Or maybe he's very thirsty after a very long hot day. Maybe he wants to go for a drink first before he comes back and attempts a hunt. But as I say, we're playing with variables here. We're just thinking what the possibilities are. But the ultimate answer to the question is his activity is fully during the night. So yes, he will hunt mostly during the dark hours. Now it seems he's gone off the road a little bit. And this is very often when we can lose sight of a leopard. I don't know if he went off the road or if... there he is. Okay, he's off on the right. Sorry, I've just been watching these vehicles, and as he went round the corner I lost sight of him. But there he still is, so he's within range, and we're going to keep moving with him, see what he gets up to. And there you start to mark a little bit again, spraying. All part of that general ritual of territorial predators, especially cats. It's quite interesting, folks. If you've got domestic cats at home, and I'm sure you've seen them doing exactly what he did there. As he came past the branch, he lifted his head up and he wiped it sort of past his nose. Now cats will do that to you at home as well, and what they're literally doing is marking you. And people think they're just being friendly, but in general they're actually marking. So you might change your feeling towards your little kitty cat the next time he gives you a proper rub, hey? It's always lovely that a kitty cat does that, but the reasoning behind it is a little bit different to what we often think. Lucas asking the question, does it happen that sometimes leopards are not that good at hunting and as a result die? Lucas, very good question, and the answer to that is yes. Obviously cats and predators like this, they're trying to stay alive, so it's important for them to be able to hunt eventually. But some of them are not so good, and yes, eventually some of them would die. But generally, leopards are one of the adaptable cats on the planet. So, if we just listen, folks. He was doing the rasping call. territory. He's done a lot of scent marking, and there he was doing the call to mark a audio marking as well. And that will travel immediately to any leopards in the area. So, answering that question, yeah, there he goes, he's continuing marking a little bit. You can have leopards that would eventually die, but it's very minimal with leopards per se. You would have, once they get hungry, you know, they would hunt small things such as scrub hares or spring hares if they're not that great hunters. I'm going to try and move forward a little bit, that we get another view on him, and then we can carry on answering all sorts of questions, but it's too good an opportunity not to miss, so we do need to continue up. But yes, there would be the odd occasion when you would get a leopard that's really not good at hunting at all, and you know, once they get a little bit weak, they continue to be weaker and weaker and weaker, and eventually they might die, but it's very rare that can happen. So, with 3 vehicles in here, that's generally the most we would have. TA asking the question, do leopards eat carrion? Now, what I think you mean by that is, do they eat meat that they would find that's been killed by other animals, or if it's died and it's been... You know, as I say, they not necessarily have to kill their own food. They're opportunists, so if there's meat around and they don't need to waste energy going to kill it themselves, they will definitely feed on it as well. And they might chase other predators off, as I think Tingana does with some of the females. Lions would chase leopard off, leopard would chase cheetah off. Leopards can also chase wild dogs off. I think this is where we might have to leave him, because he's now exiting the property. So let's just get the last view of him here, and as he exits the property, we can see as he leaves the last little Okay folks, so we're going to watch Tingana disappear off into the distance. At the same time, we're losing signal, so that's the end of that. We're going to cross over to James, who is, I think, driving through the reserve.
What a surprise that must be to you. I am driving in the reserve. We were just sitting down to see if we could find anything there. There was nothing there, so we turned around. We came back down the main road. We're going to do one last trip past the power lines, down towards where we had the elephants, and see if VM's friend has in fact popped out. I'm very pleased that, Ralph does have one of VM's friends, but not his best friend. You and Tingana aren't pretty close buddies, are you? Okay. More so than you are with Mvula? No, he says Mvula's been neglecting their relationship somewhat of late, and so he's grown slightly estranged from old Mvula. So we'll see if we can't remedy that problem in the last 15 minutes of our drive. Strong smell of potato bush. There it is. I'm going to quickly show you a bush, VM. I know you're desperate to find a leopard, but I'm going to show you a bush nevertheless. I'm a bit stiff today, VM. It certainly does. It certainly does. Beautiful sounds. There it is. That is the unassuming potato bush, Phyllanthus reticulatus. And unsurprisingly, it does not smell of potatoes. It's only the little flowers that smell like potatoes, and you really struggle to find them, actually. They're almost invisible, and they're not on this little twig. So that is Phyllanthus reticulatus, the potato bush. Thank you so much. Liam, why aren't you clapping? Thank you. Well done. Let's go a little bit quicker on account of the fact that I need to cover a bit of ground. Big termite mound, no leopard thereon. There seems to be a bit of a storm over the mountains. We were looking at the mountains earlier, and there seems to be quite a lot of rain coming out of the ground. Rain coming out of the ground. Did I just say that? Rain coming out of the clouds is what I meant, not the ground. Rain doesn't come out of the ground, it normally comes out of the sky. We'll just have a quick look at it now, as we get to the top of this hill. Oh, it's a beautiful evening, yet again. We've had 3 absolute crackers the last few days. I'll just give you a quick look at what must be utterly spectacular from the Hoedspruit area. Let's try and get past this power line. There's a tree in the way. I'm really struggling today, Liam, you see that? Now there are more trees in the way, they will get a view now. There you can see the mountains with the reeving out of the sky. I'm just ducking out the way so that VM can show you. I'm sorry about the power lines, nothing we can do about those. In fact, without them we wouldn't be able to send you the pictures that we're sending them. Beautiful stuff. I lived for a time on the slopes of those mountains. About a month I spent. And it was a very, very special month. There's something about those mountains that is very healing. And there's the tower that receives our signal. Thank you, VM, for showing the technology in the moment that I was trying to share my nostalgic and sensitive memories. Oh, jackals are calling. A long way away. Anita, you want to know when my first guiding experience was and what was it like? My first guiding experience, my very, very first ever people that I took anywhere in a sort of guiding capacity was in the mountains, actually, down in KwaZulu-Natal. There was a strike at the resort that we were staying at, and so we begged to stay on to help out and work for a week. And it was a friend of mine and I. And we spent a week there, and so as a 17-year-old, weighing in at roughly, I probably weighed about 50 kilograms then. I was about 5 feet and 5 inches tall. So not very large, maybe 5'6" if I was lucky. I was set as a horse guide and a mountain guide. And so I take people on rides, galloping hell for leather across the mountains, and then of course into the mountains on foot. So that was very nice for me. Good afternoon. How are you? Do we have some royalty in the family here? Yes, we're alive. Yes. This is the Brains Trust sitting next to us here. There they are. Hello, Mrs. Wallington, Mr. Braat, Miss and Miss Wallington, Eric, whose surname I forget, Nixtine, and Rhoda at the back, who holds the whole thing together. Without her, there would be trouble. Okay, on we go. Bye-bye. Anyway, so that was my riding experience, and I mean, I quite enjoyed it because I loved the mountains, riding hell through the tall grasslands and the fallow hills and mountains. It's very special. Right, okay, we're losing signal. We're going to go across to Ralph now. Bye-bye.
Okay, folks, so we've just left that sighting of Tingana as he's walked off the city, and we are just trying to find out if we up on any other cats around the corner. It's quite a looming evening with that night sky that's coming in, almost like we're going to get a big storm tonight. And I'm just going to switch off in this little area here because it's actually a beautiful night sky, and let's just have a listen out and see if we've got any calls of any other cats, or if we can hear anything else moving through the thickets here. It's a beautiful evening sky there. Jean asking the question, what are my favorite big cats? Well, a leopard's definitely one of the cats that everybody finds something totally enthralling about. I must say I do love leopards. It's their total adaptability for me that is really amazing. I do, however, love lions and their teamwork. I am a team player myself. I find myself stuck between leopard and lions because I like the solitary being of a leopard, but I like the team role of the lions. So I am a little bit stuck in between a leopard and a lion, but they're both fascinating creatures. And the lions, also with that whole structure of theirs, gregarious in nature, quite different to the rest of the cats, which are mostly solitary, moving around on their own. Oh, look at that. There's a lot of cumulus clouds in the sky, but we also do have some cirrus up top there. This clouds are looking very armored. They seem to be holding over the Drakensberg. Sorry for that pole there. We're moving over towards the moon, I think, which Fergus has. Do you want me to change position a bit? I think we're alright there. Couple of nights time, folks, and we're going to be hitting full moon. Now, as we zoom in there, we can see the man in the moon. For me, it was always a rabbit from afar. I don't know what you folks think, but I reckon that sort of at the top there has always reminded me of rabbit's ears. Couldn't quite work out what his body looked like, but from a very young age I always thought it was a rabbit. So we're just sitting here enjoying the last few minutes of light. There we can even see the craters on the moon. It is a little bit wobbly now because of the extreme zoom that we're using, but that is a very pretty sight. I think it's either tomorrow night or the next night that is full moon. We're waiting for that last little smidgen on the bottom there to be covered, but tonight isn't full moon just yet, and that also means that we're going to have very high seas, spring tides on the coast, and the animals can have quite good vision on nights like this. For predators, they like more the very dark nights, so this is nice for the antelope to be able to see in the evenings with the moonlight coming through. A fantastic setting it is now, heading into the last few minutes of the evening, of the dusk. The sun has set. Okay, folks, and we're starting to head towards the end of the show. We've had some lovely sightings today. For me, the highlights of this drive was obviously Tingana. I do want to learn a little bit more about these cats, and hence the reason I'm trying to check their spot ratios on the face. That is where I'm starting. So I'm not even looking at the other features just yet. I'm sticking with those. So I'm going to continue with all those little characteristics, but thank you all for helping me out with that and recognizing that it's Tingana. Thank you, folks. We'll see you tomorrow morning. I'm handing over to James, who I think is driving through the game reserve.
Righty, the moon is very beautiful indeed today as we head slowly towards home. There it is. I'm sure Ralph showed it to you, so I don't think we're going to go... Oh, we are. Sorry about that, Liam. We are going to show it to you. Oh, that is magnificent. Look at that cheese. I do like cheese, Liam.
I don't like cheese.
You don't like cheese. Liam doesn't like cheese. Right, well, that is it from us today, I'm afraid. A big thank you to Ralph for joining us on Drive today, and the Mara, who braved yet another deluge. Most of all, to all of you for your questions and comments and being patient with my incompetence. I really do appreciate it. We will see you tomorrow at 0500. Until then, stay safe and happy wherever you happen to be on planet Earth.